Good morning. Bonjour. Thank you for coming. It's a great pleasure to welcome you today. We are gathered for a one-day event about masks, more than a symposium or a series of discussions. This event is organized as a journey through masks and their liminal identities. Masks could be seen as the object of the year, what was considered as an object belonging to theater, art, and anthropology suddenly was part of our daily lives. Masks were connecting our individual life with a collective life. It was an intimate and social, cultural object by excellence. But what do we know exactly about masks? It appears rapidly as a many-faceted object, the perfect boundary object at the intersection of many disciplines and perspectives. Is it a simple object of art intended for decoration, for museum exhibitions, a ritual, a life heritage? How does it fit into the anthropology of death and the history of medicine and disease? What links does it have with the theory of the visual? What does it say about the necessary decolonization of the arts? How is it the sign of a cultural appropriation and reappropriation? How is it the witness to a mobile, fluctuating and labeled culture? This kind of question kick off our debates to prepare this event. So today, more than 20 artists, curators, critics, anthropologists, scholars from across the United States, France, and Mexico will explore the different aspects of masks. This multidisciplinary art and cultural event unfolds through different perspectives around the many layers of this multi-faceted cultural object. Unmasking Masks is the result of a fruitful collaboration and dialogue with many different institutions. My office, the Cultural Services of the French Embassy, which foster the cooperation between France and the United States, is particularly proud to have launched a partnership with 3 universities located in 3 different states of the southeast of the U.S. Thank you. I would thank my partners, Anne-Gaëlle Salio, Stéphanie Boulard, and Robert Barsky for this epic. So this event is co-produced by the Cultural Services of the French Embassy, Consulate of France in Atlanta, Duke University, Georgia Tech, and Vanderbilt University, with support from the Institut Français, Beaux-Arts Nantes Saint-Nazaire, les Maîtres d'Art, De Scripto Université Polytechnique Hauts-de-France, the Atlanta Global Studies Center, the High Museum of Arts in Atlanta, El Centro de Estudios Mexicanos y Centroamericanos, CEMCA, in Mexico. We hope we will enjoy this event as much as we did while organizing. And thank you for coming. Anne-Gaëlle, it's yours.
Thank you very much, Pascal. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to this one-day event, Unmasking Masks. My name is Anne-Gaëlle Salio. I'm an associate professor of Roman Studies at Duke, and I'm the director of the Center for French and Francophone Studies. And before we start, I would like to say that, to stress that this online event, like all events organized or co-organized by the Center for French and Francophone Studies, has only been made possible thanks to some institutional support, including funding from the Cultural Services of the French Embassy and the Office of the Dean of Arts and Sciences at Duke. I would like to particularly thank
Pascal Beyaert, attaché culturel in Atlanta, who has been key in channeling our collective energy for this project, which through at time has proven to be epic. I also would like to thank my fellow academics and partners who embarked on this adventure, Stéphanie Boulard, Robert Bersky, Raymond Gelour, but also my Duke colleagues, Martin Eisner, Esther Gabara, and Pedro Lash. A big thank as well to Maria Nero from Pantea for her infinite patience with us. I think it takes a lot to organize things with academics at times. Let me trace succinctly the genealogy of this project. Recent art historical studies that attempt to underscore the anthropological dimension of images, such as Hans Belting's Bild Anthropologie, have established masks as seemingly ageless practice at the origins of representation itself. The imago, an image or portrait of a dead individual in Roman antiquity, might be considered the archetype of human images. One can think of the lasting presence of the anthropological, artistic, and technical practices of casting and molding that date back to at least 7000 BC, when the first known images produced during death rituals were made. Known as the Jericho skull, this artifact was found in archaeological sites in Syria, Jordan, and Israel. The skull recalls a whole genealogy of artifacts produced through molding, whether made on living or dead people, from Roman imaginists on medieval royal effigies to Renaissance ex-votos on 19th century death masks. The mask thus constitutes a visible locus at which the anthropological dimension of humanity is expressed and articulated. When we decided to take on the subject of mask, which I admit is a bit of a crazy enterprise, all of us were struck by how strongly the current pandemic reflects that of the 1918 pandemic flu, which was followed by a collective obsession with masks of all kinds. A myriad of reasons accounted for this rekindled interest at that precise time, and I'm just going to name a few. First, the fight for what was then called primitive cultures on their masks, which coincided with the establishment of ethnology as an academic discipline, had fueled a fascination for ritual masks from Africa and Oceania, whose opaque meaning served as embodiment of the mysterious other. With Picasso, masks started to be viewed as innovative forms of modern sculpture. They gained a symbolic density and were used in various ways by the avant-garde. They were present in numerous portraits and self-portraits, in both painting and photograph, as well as in collage like dummy dolls and automatons. The mask embodied the figure of the double. Secondly, in the 1920s, the linkage between death and image has particular significance for German and French artists and ethnologists, as illustrated, for example, by the journal Document. The secularization of death rites and their integration into everyday aesthetics thus surfaced a mid-20th century form of modernity. Thirdly, the First World War, the first massive and global war, was instrumental in this move toward secularization. The recourse to heavy artillery and fragmentation shells was responsible for atrocious injuries and wounds unknown until then. Its terrible consequences included mutilations of the face. Reconstructive surgery of the face became institutionalized as a proper medical practice in the years immediately following the war. And this medical practice included, of course, the use of modeling and the creation of facial masks. The new medical needs thus reactivated a wide range of casting and modeling practices. Fourth, chemical gases were used as a mass weapon as early as 1915. Gas masks soon became standard equipment on the war front. And for instance, the surrealists who violently rejected the experience of the war had been fascinated by masks and casts in the beginning of their movement, and thus approached gas mask as a modern macabre version of mask. What this brief account demonstrates is that masks encompass modern and contemporary modes of representation, and yet at the same time reactivate past elements and memorial practices. More than simple tools of simulation and concealing, the practices that surround them might reveal a commonality of the human condition. They have been kept being appropriated and reappropriated, and might even serve as documents and metaphors
of colonial and post-colonial domination. Masks are always situated at the intersection of an anthropology of the gaze, a phenomenology of the visible, and a material history. Our symposium, Unmasking Masks, has been thought as being precisely located at such a crossroads, exploring through a wide range of events, dialogues with artists and curators and talks, the manifold aspects of masks and their, above all, unsettling contemporariness. And I think it's the stage is now to Stéphanie.
Thank you, Angel, and thank you, merci, Pascal, Angel, and Robert for this wonderful collaboration on this event. So good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you are connecting from, and welcome again to this very special event, Unmasking Masks. So my role today is to expose the program of the day. We have 5 panels that explore masks, masking, and unmasking, which is right now, with the COVID pandemic, a question at the forefront of our daily rituals. So the first panel at 8:20, Mask and Carnival Perspectives, is the opportunity to discuss masks and masking in connection with theatricality and self-therapy. So Carol Emerson and Robert Barksey will explore some carnivalesque aspects of the mask, following Bakhtinian mask figures such as the rogue, the clown, or the fool, while questioning the very definition of the mask during their dialogue. The second panel of the day will explore connection between mask and medicine. First, the cultural and medical anthropologist Beth Conklin will explore contrast between the Amazonian masking and the logics of indigenous cosmologies that resonate with emerging science on the microbiome, and the medical uses of masks based in Pasteurian germ theories, logic of contamination. Then Louise Shaw and Vincent Bruyère will discuss about the evolution of medical masks from 19th century till today and the current pandemic, COVID-19. The third panel, Mask and Thinking Images, where I am and Angel also is a panel that explores the mask as a poetic object in philosophy, literature, cinema, and theater. So Angel Salio, Raymond Belour, Erhard Stiefel, and Claude Desimon, Marie Vial, and I will use films, performances, photographs, theoretical texts that question the ontology of images and approach the mask as a thinking image. And its investigative experimental manifestation. We will have a 45-minute break at 12:45, and we get back together again for our 2 panels in the afternoon. During the first panel of the afternoon, masks from decorative to mutant objects, Emmanuel Chérel will highlight how some artists conceive the mask not as a static entity, but as an excessive hybrid mutant object inviting transmutation and transfiguration. And curator and Africanist Lorraine Tedbeza will interrogate art classifications and characteristics that define the mask in Western art markets and institutions, and how these classifications are not necessarily representative of African preferences or indigenous culture, and challenges prevailing notions of authenticity. So finally, the last panel is for us an opportunity to have specific perspectives from Latin America, with participation of 2 Mexican artists, Pedro Larch and Cesar Martinez Silva, who will present their critical approach of the mask in their artistic work. Caroline Perret will also explore the plasticity of the mask images in Mexico and how the mask allow metamorphosis of identities. So we hope you will enjoy all these discussions and presentations, and thank you for being here with us today. And I hope you will enjoy this day with us.
Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, good evening. It's a pleasure to be with you. I want to immediately thank Pascal Bayard, who has done such an extraordinary job bringing together this collaboration and has worked so hard to make this really a memorable event. It's memorable and hasn't even started yet, so that's already a sign. And to thank Angel Sayo and Stéphanie Boulard. It's an honor to be able to work with such people in creating a masking event like this. I want to think a little bit broadly before introducing Carol Emerson, our first panelist, about what motivated us and what we're thinking about here in masks and unmasking. And to do so, I want to think about a work called Origine du Carnaval, in which Anne Lombard-Jourdain makes reference to masks that have been uncovered in archaeological digs. One such mask, which is dated at roughly 14,000 years old, was found in a cave drawing discovered in Le Sanctuaire des Trois-Rivières. It portrays a man masked like a bison, playing a flute, preceded by a fantastic female animal with the hindquarters of a reindeer and the forequarters of a bison. In interpreting the meaning of this mask, Jourdain suggests that in their rituals, primitive peoples were not animated by a sentiment, but rather by a pensée, which he calls a pensée sauvage, which suggested that to obtain what they wanted from the ancestral animal, it was necessary to face it, to accentuate their kinship with it, and to take on its actual image. I find this to be a fascinating and provocative reading of what masks can mean, and indeed what they have meant in history. In the transition towards the medieval carnival, Lombard-Jourdain says that early Christianity was forced to accept masks, just as it was compelled to accept other rites and other rituals from early pagan cultures. Church authorities in the High Middle Ages fulminated in particular against the most ancient of masks, those of the cerf, the stag. The wearer used the skin of the animal as well as its head, which rendered the person unrecognizable, but nevertheless able to freely move around. But even as the church tried to obliterate the significance of ancient pagan worship, it ended up accepting carnivalesque celebrations, including public masquerades, in the course of which masks have lost their true significance.